Hey YouTube, we are back again this week for another video portion of the Daly Dose Sports Podcast. Hope everyone out there is doing well. This week on the podcast, we are actually discussing a little sports news from the past week. We are going to jump into that right now. Got a number of stories that we need to touch on. You know, we do have some more sports news that we need to touch on this week. Couple of other stories coming out besides just in the NBA that I kind of wanted to share with you. And let's start off in Major League Baseball, where we had a truly terrifying situation on Saturday night in Washington, D.C., when the top half of the sixth inning in the game between the San Diego Padres and the Washington Nationals, it had actually just ended in front of a little over 30,000 fans, when several shots were heard from an incident that occurred on South Capitol Street just outside the third base side of the stadium. And a chaotic scene quickly developed at the game. As the Padres cleared the field, some fans began rushing to leave the stadium, while other fans were ducking and trying to hide, looking for some cover against they weren't really sure what. The game had to be suspended at that point. It would be resumed on Sunday ahead of the regularly scheduled game that was already going to be there on Sunday. The shooting, an exchange of gunfire between people in two cars, left 3 people injured, according to the Metro Police Department. One of the people who shot was actually a woman who was attending the game and who was struck while she was just outside the stadium. They say her injuries weren't considered life-threatening. 2 people who were in the stadium later actually walked into a local hospital with gunshot wounds and were being questioned by investigators. But the extent of their injuries wasn't immediately clear. Investigators were still trying to locate the second vehicle that was involved in the shooting. They're still trying to figure out exactly who that was. But like I said, this was a truly horrible situation where people are out acting crazy and terrorizing innocent families, and you have people just trying to go to the game and they're not sure what's going on. Is someone targeting us? Is someone trying to do another public crazy shooting? You don't know. You're in the stands and you kind of feel like you're a sitting target. It wasn't a good situation on Saturday night when people are terrorizing innocent families. Then again, this did take place in Washington, D.C., where we see people acting crazy and terrorizing innocent families pretty much every day, just in a different way. But it does seem like it happens a lot in that part of our country. You know, shockwaves of this situation were felt around the league throughout Major League Baseball. The Los Angeles Dodgers actually came out with a statement that they said it would be horrifying if that same thing happened in Chavez Ravine. They said they're way more used to stabbings in Chavez Ravine. Gunfire? No, that would be scary. The Miami Marlins players stated on social media that an active shooter situation at Lone Depot Park in their home stadium would really be dangerous, because there wouldn't be any fans in attendance for players to even hide behind. Meanwhile, the Houston Astros also weighed in on what their response would be upon hearing gunshots. And Astros second baseman Jose Altuve asked, well, I got to think about that. Are gunshots the signal for a slider or for a curveball? I can't remember what it was. Let's see, trash can lid was fastball. Gunshots, I think it was an outside slider, but I'm not sure. Either way, I know I can swing. Things are a little bit different in Houston. Like, we've kind of forgotten about that, but things down in Houston, they're a little bit odd. Speaking of having a bad week, you know, you may have had a bad week last week. Yes, I'm looking right at you, LeBron James, with your new Space Jam being called one of the worst movies since, like, Cats. But odds are, even if you were LeBron James, you didn't have as bad of a week as veteran NFL cornerback Richard Sherman. According to documents filed by the King County Prosecuting Attorney's Office on Friday in Seattle, the charges against Mr. Richard Sherman include 2 domestic violence counts, criminal trespassing in the 2nd degree, and malicious mischief in the 3rd degree, along with resisting arrest, driving while under the influence, and reckless endangerment of roadway workers. The charges are all misdemeanors. They are punishable by up to 90 days in jail, or gross misdemeanors punishable by up to 1 year in jail. But this all happened Apparently, after Sherman's wife had to call 911 last week because Sherman was arrested early Wednesday after police say he crashed his car in a construction zone along a busy highway east of Seattle. Then he somehow got to his in-laws' home in Redmond, Washington, a suburb of Seattle, and tried to break in the door. That's not good. Sherman's father-in-law told officers that he had actually armed himself with a handgun and had fired pepper spray as Sherman tried to break down the door with his shoulder. We saw it on video from their video surveillance camera. Now, Richard Sherman is 33. He is entering what should be his 10th season in the NFL. He was hoping to sign with a team in the coming weeks as training camp nears as an unrestricted free agent. However, after seeing this and finding out this guy's got some serious demons, this guy's got some serious problems, he says that he has some mental health issues. Well, if you hear that as an NFL team, you kind of have to put all that on hold, right? For one, now you have to wait and see, what happens with his case. Is he even going to be available to play? And then what will the league do upon finding that out as well? Could he be on suspension? Could he be in that player conduct situation where he wouldn't even be available to play? Hey, make no mistake, all this stuff happening to Richard Sherman last week is a big hit to his reputation, who had a reputation for being pretty fiery, sometimes saying some controversial things, but he always seemed to keep his personal life in order. He takes a big hit there. But more importantly, he's going to take a big hit to his wallet as he was looking for a new NFL deal. If you are a team right now, you're looking at him going, yeah, let's kind of wait. I'm not sure we want to sign you just yet. Richard Sherman had a really, really bad week last week. But here is a question that I want to ask you that I want you to think about. I know that the NFL is king and the NFL season is coming quickly. We're going to be talking about it a little bit later in the show. But do you think the NFL watches the NBA, watches the NBA and how they operate, watches the NBA ratings at all? I would think that they do. But then I also kind of wonder, when you watch, are you paying attention? Are you learning much when you watch? And here's why I ask that. Because the NFL announced last week that they plan to add more social justice messaging to fields, to player helmets, and to their pregame activities. That is according to Front Office Sports. They report it's all part of a 10-year, $250 million commitment to combat systemic racism. Well, that sounds like a good thing, right? The site reports that the league will push social justice messages via on-field signage, via decals on player helmets, and even in-stadium public service announcements. The league also plans to make the Black National Anthem a prominent part of all NFL events. Now, in September 2020, the NFL used a video of Alicia Keys singing the song Lift Every Voice and Sing at stadiums around the league. Now, personally, I think the NFL should be very, very careful here. We have seen politics really hurt the NBA product. We have seen people begin to shy away from that league. I don't know that this is a very wise business choice. But that's not what I want to talk about today. Let's go back to the other part. Let's go back to that Black National Anthem. Is that a thing? I didn't know there were different national anthems. More importantly, do other races also get their own national anthem? Let's think about that. Let me see if I have this straight, because maybe I have this mixed up. Sometimes I get confused. Is the Star Spangled Banner like the white national anthem? I would think that would be more like Sweet Caroline if we were picking a white song, but maybe that's just me. Okay, so we have the white national anthem covered with the Star Spangled Banner, right? And then we have the black, apparently, national anthem covered with Lift Every Voice and Sing. But it's not just white players and black players in the NFL. What about the Hispanic players? Do they get their own national anthem? And more important, if they do, what song would we be picking for them? No. Do not start playing Lowrider. Turn that off. We're going to get in trouble for that. Don't play that. That could be deemed offensive somehow. I don't know what the Hispanic national anthem would be, but I would think if we're going to have national anthems for different races, we got to come up with something, don't we? And there are also a few NFL players that are like Hawaiian or Pacific Islander. What would their national anthem be? Like, do we break out a little Don Ho for those players? There are a few players that are of Asian descent in the NFL. They're going to need their own national anthem too. And I mean, does it just stop at races, or do we go into other things? I mean, we know that Las Vegas Raider defensive player Carl Nassib just came out over the past month or so to say that he is gay. He announced that on his social media platform. Do we have to have another national anthem for gay players? No. Don't play YMCA. We're going to get kicked off of YouTube if you play YMCA. Turn that off. I don't know what the gay national anthem would be. I'm just saying these are some things we need to think about if we're going to start designating everyone getting their own national anthem. Now, maybe I'm confused because I thought just as a country, you had one national anthem and that was it. But now I'm finding out we have a lot of different variants upon this national anthem. It's confusing to me. I don't know exactly how that all works. I mean, I know that we're being told that this is all in the name of unity. This is all in the name of togetherness. I'm just not exactly sure how playing like 19 national anthems prior to every single game is going to bring any of us together. And here's another question to think about. Let's say you play one of those national anthems. Can you kneel for them? Is there any kneeling going on? Like if we play YMCA, does anyone take a knee? Or is that just okay? Are you just out there doing the dance? I don't know how that works. But I could see all this eventually being really problematic and being really, really confusing. I am warning the NFL right now. Be very careful. It seems like we're going down a path that could have more problems than solutions. I mean, at some point, don't we all kind of just see, okay, these leagues are just going to say, forget it. We're not even playing a national anthem anymore. We've got 47 national anthems keyed up. We don't have enough time. The anthems take longer than the games. Just never mind. We just won't play it anymore. I think that's where it's going. And so eventually the teams will just come out. We'll play Smash Mouth All-Star and we'll just kick it off, right? Isn't that where this is all heading? Now, I know when we hear this stuff, we say, the NFL might be going down a bad path. And yeah, I know we all kind of think, yeah, but the NFL is king. Here in the States, the NFL is king. Like, baseball struggles to get any ratings. The NBA can't get anybody to watch their product. A lot of sports are really, really struggling to get ratings, and yet you turn on a Thursday night game in the NFL, it's, the Jaguars and the Jets, and you still get like 20 million viewers. That's just how it is. And I know we all think the NFL is untouchable. They can do this stuff if they want to, and it should be untouchable. But I also know that at one point in this country, that's what baseball thought. They thought they were untouchable. And now you can barely pay people to watch baseball. The NFL needs to be very, very careful going down a very dangerous path. Okay, YouTube, make sure that you go out and you check out the rest of the podcast. This week on The Dose, we are recapping those NBA Finals. We also have some college football news that you might want to hear. Some interesting things going on over there. Plus, our Daily Dose Top 5 is looking at one reason that NFL training camps opening up this week. It's not always good news. So make sure you go out and you check out the rest of the podcast. I will leave a link here in the comments on YouTube for you. Hope you all are doing well. I will see you all next Wednesday. Have a great week.